Rounding out hour number 2 live right here on this Tuesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. Back to the association, back to the NBA playoffs. DRS, we have had 3 of our 4 second-round sets begin, where the home favorite in game number 1 lost outright despite having that home court advantage. The Knicks win an OT last night as a 9-point dog against the Boston Celtics inside TD Garden. The Thunder up by 13 with 6.5 left. Lose to the Nuggets in regulation, 121-119, as a 10.5-point home favorite against Denver. And, of course, on Sunday, the Pacers go into the land and knock off the Cavaliers. Our 4th and final second-round series begins tonight in Minnesota between the Timberwolves and the Warriors. We'll talk about that opening game in just a little bit. But, DRS, we look at the NBA Finals MVP odds right now. And despite the fact that OKC lost game number 1, despite the fact that Boston lost game number 1, despite the fact that Cleveland lost game number 1, those are still the 3 short favorites to win an NBA championship, as the odds have detailed throughout our time, and thus their best players still the short favorites to win NBA Finals MVP. SGA plus 175. Jayson Tatum, do not bet that number, never bet that number, plus 280. And Donovan Mitchell at plus 650. Those are the NBA Finals MVP odds at this moment.
Yeah, and we're taking a look, and most people say, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. SGA lost last night, and Tatum lost last night. Tatum didn't play well last night. The expectation is, you see with the finals, it's NBA Finals betting odds, which means the teams we expect to be in the finals with their best players, they're going to be favorites. But why not Nikola Jokic? He was unbelievable last night. We don't expect him to get into the finals. That's why he's at a 16-1 price. Yeah. And further down there, Jalen Brunson at 36-1. So it's a little bit early to sort of chime in to see where these will go. Now, you might get some really different numbers based on game number 2 if SGA ends up 0-2, which means Nikola Jokic would go from 16-1. Let's just say if it does go 0-2, right, where OKC lose the first games on their home court, you probably think Denver's going to win that series. Would Jokic then jump up behind Jayson Tatum?
I would think so.
Yeah.
And DRS, one of the things I also, when you look at the individual, I don't think anybody is worth a bet right now at that price in comparison to their teams. Even the guys at the top, as we'll discuss in just a moment. But Nikola Jokic is 16-1 to win Finals MVP. Denver is 15-1 to win the NBA championship. Anthony Edwards is 12-1 to win Finals MVP. Minnesota has the 4th best price to win the NBA championship at 11-1. It is still worth betting those teams as opposed to the individual, although, of course, the argument is very sound. Are the Nuggets winning an NBA title without Nikola Jokic being at his absolute best? Probably not.
What was Jokic? Did we have this price point up before the playoffs started, NBA Finals MVP? Like, what was Jokic to start, or what was Jokic like even before the series started?
I'm sure we can find that number here.
Like, the reason I ask is, like, you see SGA, clearly the best player. Tatum, thought of as obviously the best player. Donovan Mitchell, the same thing, and Anthony Edwards. But, like, you get to the finals. Like, Jokic, last time they won, he was the MVP.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to be MVP over Nikola Jokic. There's not even a question mark if they win the championship. He was going for 40s and 20s.
And it's a good point, DRS, because once you get to the NBA Finals MVP, it's not quite the debate we've had for the Final 4 MOP odds.
Correct.
But, of course, if you have those stellar and spectacular championship moments throughout the finals, even if this guy was the best for your opening 3 rounds, and this guy has 3 great games in the 4 wins that you have, he's probably going to win NBA Finals MVP. Now, in terms of the biggest disparity, maybe not the biggest disparity, but the Celtics are plus 210 to go back-to-back as an NBA champ. Jayson Tatum is plus 280. That's 70 cents of difference. Donovan Mitchell, $1.50 in the individual price behind his Cleveland Cavaliers. 5-1 for the Cavs, plus 650 for Spida. SGA is plus 175. The Thunder, despite the disappointing Game 1 loss last night to the Nugs, are plus 170 to win the NBA championship. You can see how directly correlated those 2 prices are. I'm telling you this right now. I've seen enough. Jayson Tatum is not a top 5 player in the NBA. Because you cannot be top 5 and perform the way down clutch moments that Jayson Tatum continuously does. Did he win Eastern Conference Final MVP last year? Nope. Did he win NBA Finals MVP last year? Nope. It was Jaylen Brown in both. Numerous times last night, he had the shorter and worse defender in Jalen Brunson on him to ice out the game in regulation, or Cat on him, who he should blow by each and every time. He settled for a contested step-back 3, unable to get past either of those 2 defenders and convert in the clutch moments. There are some players that fail to convert in the clutch moments. They miss a shot. There are others like Jayson Tatum right here, right now, at least based on what we have seen, that balk at the opportunity to take advantage of that clutch moment, passing it off for a terrible shot or passing it off to his teammate in Jaylen Brown. It blows my mind
Yeah, no, in the big spots, your big players have to step up. And the expectations are Tatum is supposed to be the next guy, right? Hey, here's Kobe
top
to
three,
Tatum.
top five.
Exactly.
Top three, top five.
Should be MVP on a year-to-year basis, playing with a team that's won a championship. It is an ultimate indictment, though. Like, the Celtics finally get over the hump, and it was like, yeah, Tatum, you were a good player, but you weren't the best player on the team. That's got to be a shot, man. That is a
Twice
shot.
to win historic banner number 18. More on the early lineup.
Stay.
The Dogs have been barking to start off the second round of this NBA postseason. The Pacers won outright on Sunday in Cleveland as an 8.5-point dog. Last night, the Knicks, 9-point dog, winning in OT over the Celtics, coming back from down by as many as 20 midway through that third quarter. The Nuggets winning outright as a 10.5-point underdog in Oklahoma City, trailing by 13 points with 6.5 minutes remaining in regulation. A doubleheader of NBA playoff action on this Tuesday, first in Cleveland, then in Minnesota, and that is our focus, DRS. Game number 1 of the second round between the Timberwolves and the Warriors. Anthony Edwards wants this series, wants this opponent, wants the competition as the Dragon Slayer he has become in the Western Conference. How well will it go for the Timberwolves in game number 1 and this series? It was the question to all of you in Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, who will win the second round series, the Western Conference semifinal set between Minnesota and Golden State? In most of the public, DRS, really not all that close. More than 68% of the votes backing the Timberwolves, 68.3% at SportsGrid on Twitter. Minnesota going to win this second round set over the Golden State Warriors. Is Donnie right side fading the public?
I'm not going to fade the public in this spot. I am going to go with the Warriors, with the Timberwolves, which is the way I voted here. 68% of the public coming in on that side as well. And rightfully so. They're the favorites. They're supposed to draw more attention, but also understand this. We didn't get to the second round here as a fluke for the Timberwolves. They took it to the Los Angeles Lakers, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James, and a 20-20 effort by Rudy Gobert in a closeout game situation. The last thing you need for the rest of the NBA is for Rudy Gobert to get an offensive game and get confidence down on the low block, which he did against the Lakers. Now, things are going to change, and I'm respecting of the Warriors because they have a championship pedigree. Steph can still rise up. Jimmy Butler's been phenomenal. Draymond Green playing like he's rejuvenated once again. That's a pretty good starting lineup and one of the better coaches in the NBA in Steve Kerr. Not going to be a quick series, but also understand this. There's a difference between who do you think is going to win this series and who do you think is going to cover on a game-to-game basis. So for the series itself, I do think the Wolves, home court advantage, are the better team and should advance. But on a day-to-day basis, we're going to have some certainly different opportunities, and including tonight as well.
And the odds back that up. The odds, in fact, DRS, following what the public is thinking here as well. Minnesota now a minus 194 favorite outright to win this second round set in front of Golden State. Now, we had some conversation behind the scenes here on the early line last week and looking forward to this potential series before Minnesota knocked off the Lakers in the gentleman's sweep when the Warriors were up 3-1 in front of the Rockets as well. Of course, Golden State lost back-to-back games, tested and the road underdog in Game 7 against the Rockets in H-Town. And Minnesota made very quick work of LeBron, Luka, and the Lakers. The odds makers at the time had Golden State nearly $2 in front of Minnesota to win the Western Conference crown. Our producer extraordinaire, and correctly so, Joe Frizo, said the Timberwolves would be the series favorites in front of Golden State. Myself and JY in a commercial break said, Frizo, you're crazy. Look at the odds right here. The Warriors would be the favorite. Well, we had it wrong. Frizo had it right. Frankly, the odds makers, although we love you, FanDuel, had it slightly off as well. Because the Timberwolves, not just like a minus 120, basically, pick 'em favorite here, DRS. Minnesota has home floor advantage. They have the rest advantage in front of Golden State. And they are now a minus 194 favorite. Now, you're not fading the public. You think the T-Wolves do win this second round series to advance to the Western Conference Finals for a second straight season. Do you think it should be that strong of a price in favor of Minnesota?
No, I don't. I think it's pretty much gotten away, almost a minus 200 price at this point right now. But again, they are the better team. And also, you have to understand where they're coming off from the season itself. Expectations to start the season still pretty high for the Minnesota Timberwolves, even though they made that move from Cat over to Julius Randle. And Randle really coming into his own on that team, but also understanding the plot here. Once you get to the playoffs, man, what a series that's going to be. The Los Angeles Lakers, looking to take on the Timberwolves. High, advantage goes to the Lakers on home court advantage. They beat them in 5 games, which means they clinched in Los Angeles, which was great. And then also, to me, not watching the NBA season next year, I sort of say thank you to the Warriors for doing that for me, but also understand this. A lot of people, I guess, believing that the Rockets weren't a great basketball team entering into the playoffs, and still went 7 games.
Correct.
So you're having that lull play over, and also understand this, too. Rested and ready, you're going to find out a lot about what those aging legs of the Warriors have, because if they play well and can win a game number 1 in Minnesota, that could really shake up the Richter scale on the series. But for me, I just think the Timberwolves are a better overall team, and I always trust home court advantage and give that team the bump, which will be the Timberwolves.
And there's no doubt about it. The T-Wolves do have that home floor advantage. They are the 6th seed. The Warriors are the 7th seed, and yet Minnesota gets that home floor advantage because of the opening round upset over the Lakers. Minnesota was the underdog entering that series. Golden State, the ever-so-slight favorite, thus the Rockets referendum. Let me ask. It did go to 7. Houston was a slight favorite for that 7th game. But you would think if being the 2 seed and having home court advantage for any game would be most paramount, it would be a 7th and final game. So, DRS, are you done watching the NBA regular season?
I mean, there's only one thing that can help your boy watch the regular season next year. The ping pong balls bounce around, comes up Sixers flag. I will be at game 1 for this Philadelphia 76ers 2024.
Wow.
Even if I have to miss PFT, if it ends up on a Monday or Thursday, or even a Sunday. I'll miss a Sunday here to make sure I'm there for opening night for the flag era in Philadelphia.
For what it's worth on the early line, we'll give you that next morning off, wherever it needs to be.
Really?
That would be a tight turnaround.
But what happens if we're like redoing stuff, though? Do I still get the day off or no?
Well, yeah, then there'd be Joe Ranieri and Tom Vecchio.
Okay.
That'd be a good
How about that?
show if you do ask me. That is the only chance if the ping pong balls next
flag
Monday, because I think it's May 12th, right?
I got to get involved.
Monday, May 12th. That's the NBA draft lottery. 6 days from right now. If the ping pong balls fall the way to the Philadelphia 76ers. 5th best odds, DRS. 5th best chance for Philadelphia to earn that number 1 overall selection. And, of course, the Cooper flag sweepstakes. Now, I do want to tie back to our Minnesota and Golden State series. So, as we have seen so far, in our first 3 game ones of our 4 second-round sets, the road underdog catching at least 8.5 points has won outright. The line is working to Minnesota to win this series outright.
Yes.
And yet the line for game number 1 tonight is interesting.
Yes, it is.
Timberwolves are a 6.5-point home favorite for the opening game of this set tonight in Minneapolis. And yet the public is more so looking at Golden State. Only in spread is what we can see on the FanDuel Sportsbook via those stats, but 51% of the money on the spread bets backing Golden State. 65% of the overall volume of bets backing Golden State. Now, is there a chance the Warriors could cover and still lose outright for sure? But interesting there, DRS, some of the public love for Golden State in the game 1 bets, but not so much in the series prices.
The copycats, though. We're taking a look at what happened so far in round number 2 and game number 1 against teams that were on the road and underdogs, winning outright by close to double-digit favorites. And you're saying, well, I get Steph Curry, I get Jimmy Butler, I get Draymond Green. I just got to hang around in this game, let alone win, and I can get the cover by a touchdown. I agree with the line dropping. I do.
We'll talk about that a little bit later on. A doubleheader of NBA playoff action on this Tuesday night. Game number 2 in Cleveland between the Cavaliers and the Pacers. Game number 1, the opening game of our 4th and final round 2 set in Minnesota between the Timberwolves and the Warriors. We start in Cleveland. The Cavaliers, a 9-point favorite, DRS, against those Pacers. Total stands at 229 and a hook. Of course, as we have seen so far in each of our 3 conference semifinal sets, the road team has taken game 1 despite being a rather hefty underdog. Indiana winning outright on Sunday as an 8.5-point dog in the opening game of this series. And the odds makers understand that. We'll talk about the lines tomorrow for our 2 series where the Knicks won in game 1, Denver winning in game 1, and the lines for game 2 being even stronger in favor of the home team, needing to at least earn that opening 2-game split. Same thought tonight for the Cavaliers. 8.5-point spread in game 1, 9-point number right now in favor of Cleveland for game 2. What response do you think we see out of the Eastern Conference's number 1 seed?
I think we get a good response, but also understand this. How healthy are we coming into this game as the Cleveland Cavaliers? Still looking at Garland, but other guys banged up as well. Granted, it's the playoffs. If you can go, you're going to go. But that Garland injury where that toe, you don't really know what it's going to stand up to once you have to drive or dribble drive by somebody or play some defense or sprint down the court to see if that's going to be a re-injury and something to certainly watch. But also, this line sits at 9 right now at the FanDuel Sportsbook, as high as 10. Like, why? What did you watch from game number 1? It's like, come on now. Cleveland's just going to get it together automatically. I love Cleveland. Love the fact that they absolutely wiped the Miami Heat off the court. They're a great basketball team. They were my pick to go to the finals and still sit in that mode. But I look at the 9 points, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm getting close to double digits again with the Pacers. Again, is the vantage point for the Pacers mission accomplished? We're just going to go back to Indy and it's okay, we're 1-1? Right. Or are they going to try to play hard in this game, which I know they will? And understand this, we're not asking for just the winner of the game. You can get beat by 6, 7, 8 points here, 9 points and still get a push. I love that number. Like, I don't care if it's a trap like Donnie. You understand that the numbers are there for a reason, not just because they want to trap people into it. That's what they think the favorite should be. But I got to tell you, I like the Pacers with the 9 tonight.
Yeah, listen, when you look at Indiana this year, you would look at their against the spread record as an underdog. 18, 15, and 1 ATS. And their 3 games as a dog so far in this postseason. Twice against Milwaukee. Game number 1, of course, on Sunday against Cleveland. 2-1 against the spread, but both of those covers an outright victory. Why do we allude to that? Because Indiana 18, 15, and 1 against the spread. DRS is a playoff team as an underdog. Not bad. Still above 500. Profitable. But 18 covers, 17 outright wins. The Pacers straight up as a dog this year. 17 and 17. To have a 500 record outright as an underdog, you are keeping games close and competitive. And we can reference how the spread is slightly even more in favor of the Cavaliers, trying to earn that opening 2-game split tonight against the Pacers. We expect that to be the case. But to Donnie's point, it's just not a 2.5-point spread. The Cavaliers can win outright, draw even in this series. They win by 6. Indiana covered and with a little bit of wiggle room in doing so. And the Pacers are a very balanced team. When you look at Cleveland, of course, everything runs through Spida. Donovan Mitchell, 33 points in game number 1, albeit in a losing effort. The Pacers, in their 5 playoff wins so far in their 6 total games, DRS, they've had at least 6 guys in double figures, as we saw on Sunday. All 5 starters scoring at least 13 points. Andrew Nembhard, the leading scorer, bearing 5 triples with 23 to pace the Pacers.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, too, because what that starting lineup is actually going to be. Because if you can get a Darius Garland out there, be healthy and effective, that's certainly going to change some things up. Been down for a couple games. Expectations are, I guess, he's going to play because we see an 18.5-point points prop here at the FanDuel Sportsbook for him. Interesting also as I slide down, which means we don't get a lot of Ty Jerome, who shot 20 times, I believe, in game number 1. So it'll be interesting to see how he sort of filters in. But understand this. If there is a correlation in this game, it's not as if the number 1 overall seed is going to panic being down 0-1. It happens. We've seen it, and quite frankly, a lot so far in round number 2. But looking from a Cleveland perspective, if you're going to win this game, what does your coach sit there and tell you? Like, they're going to sit there and go, you know what? It's defense, guys. That's where it starts at this point. So you see the graphic, it's 229.5. I think the correlation in this game is if the Pacers win, they're going to try to get out and run. That's what they do. But if the Cleveland Cavaliers win, now granted, we've seen them 115, 120, 130 points routinely in the regular season, but it's a little bit different in the playoffs. If I'm expecting Cleveland to win, that means they start on defense, which means the tempo probably will be slower, as opposed to Indy going like, let's rev this car up, man. Let's get after it in game number 2. We got nothing to lose. We already have a game in our pocket. Let's see if we can extend it and get it to 2 games. So for me, if it's a Cleveland win, it's going to stay under. If it's an over, it's probably an Indiana Pacers win. But for me, again, I do like the Pacers. I think they keep it close. I would be shocked if we're watching this game in the second quarter. Turn it off. 22-point lead. The Pacers mailed it in. They're here, man. I like that team.
No doubt about it, DRS. Last night in our 2 games, 213 the total between the Knicks and the Celtics, needing overtime, and you got that push. Would have been an undering considerably so in regulation. Denver and OKC, though, combining for north of 240 or exactly 240, going well over that total last night in Oklahoma City. Cleveland and Indiana, 121-112, the victory for the Pacers in game number 1 on Sunday, over as well. We know the Pacers play up-tempo, maybe not the best defensive team always. Indiana over in 4 of 6 so far in this postseason. The Cavaliers over in 4 of their 5 games so far in this NBA playoff run as well. Darius Garland does have a points prop out bright and early here on this Tuesday morning, 18.5. He has not played since the second game of the opening round series for Cleveland. That was nearly 2 weeks ago, DRS.
What do you see with that,
against Miami?
Like if I told you right now 18.5, based on, forget about hey, he's working out before the game. What's your initial thought on that?
My initial thought would probably be to the over for Darius Garland. Scored at least 21 in both of those games against the Heat. You probably want to see exactly what he has, of course. But like we saw with Jimmy Butler returning for Golden State, are you getting a slightly discounted number because you are not expecting 100% efficiency? And are you taking advantage of that discount? Is it going to be 20-plus for the rest of this postseason?
And also ask you a question on that as well, because I was 1-0 series lead for the Cavs. we don't see Garland tonight again.
I would agree.
You know what I mean? So I think he might be rushed back just a little bit. And also, we're not talking about an injury. It's like, okay, maybe a little bit on a hamstring, take it easy. That is a toe, man. Everything you do is going to affect that movement here, and also the chance of re-injury I want to see. So, again, focusing, that's why I ask you before you get any information. Later in the day, the beat writer is going to be all over this. At practice, here's what it is. No minutes restriction. Looks and feels great. Could have played game 1. Played it safe. Saved them for game 2. And then it will be a different story. I'm going to lean towards the right now because I don't know if he's not going to come back. NBA players don't be decoys. Hey, let me get in the starting lineup for 6 minutes like Willis Reed way back in the day for the Knicks. If he plays, he's probably going to be as close to 100% as possible, but the chance for re-injury, and is he rushing back because they really need him? That's what I need to see today.
Yeah, it's a really good point as well, DRS, to look at where things stand. Meanwhile, for the Pacers, there are 5 guys in the starting lineup, all with a points prop of 12.5 or greater. Again, speaks to the depth, the balance the Pacers play with. And when you look at what Cleveland has done, at least in their 3 home games in the land in the NBA playoffs, Spider scored at least 30. Donovan Mitchell's points prop tonight, 28.5. You would still think, even with Darius Garland back in the lineup, Donovan Mitchell has to go over that for Cleveland to win comfortably and maybe cover as that 9-point home favorite tonight in game number 2. Now, I wasn't here over the weekend. I wasn't here on Monday.
What were you doing?
I was out in L.A. Beautiful engagement party.
Orange County?
No. South Bay, Los Angeles, Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach.
Wow.
Really good time. Beautiful weather right by the ocean. Saw a lot of people. Saw Andrew Siciliano, Jeff Van Gundy, Chase Buttinger playing volleyball.
Wow.
You know, that's what he does now. So
is anywhere near Venice Beach? Anywhere near Venice Beach? Yeah. All right. Yes. Yeah, I need to get there.
Venice? You been to Venice?
Yeah. I've lifted there before. Gold's Gym.
Really?
No, it hasn't.
I mean, this guy back in the day, absolute stud was Jack. I was going to ask, though, from the perspective, what was the price on the Cavaliers entering the series to win outright?
Probably had to be. Guy.
Yeah. So that was really a question for Joe Frizo. But I would assume, Frizo, probably something close to what we saw for the Celtics minus 600, something of the sort. The Cavaliers now just a minus 230 favorite, DRS, to win this series outright entering game number 2.
You probably should like that price the same way we talked about the Celtics price. But I got to tell you, like, the different feels. Like, the Celtics just had an epically bad game and lost. Like, they'll be fine. The Knicks are a solid ball club. But on the opposite side, like, I love what I saw of the Pacers. And I think the Pacers in this level, like round number 2, probably the least respected team out of most teams right now. And they played well. So, for me, I'm not excited. I love the Cavaliers. I'm not excited by that price point.
The prices overall to win the Eastern Conference, to win the NBA championship, haven't changed all that much. Pacers made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Yeah, they got swept by the Celtics, but they still got there. We now head to Minneapolis up next. Our final conference semifinal series starts tonight in the Twin Cities. It's the Timberwolves and the Warriors in game number 1 of this second round set. Again, in our first 3 game ones here in the second round of the NBA playoffs, the road team is a pretty hefty dog, has won outright. The Pacers getting 8.5. The Knicks in OT last night against the reigning champs getting 9 points. And the Denver Nuggets, a double-digit dog, winning outright in OKC. Well, that follows suit tonight, as we see the Golden State Warriors as a 6.5-point dog tonight in the Twin Cities against the T-Wolves, with a total now on its way up ever so slightly to 10.5. The series outright odds, more people buying into the Timberwolves, but in terms of this game 1 spread, DRS, a little bit of love for Golden State, at least, to keep things close and competitive in game number 1.
And again, here's what we're lining up on this one. Are we getting the fool's gold, where everybody's like, play one, take the dogs, and everything works out to your favor, and then you get stumped in this one because Minnesota's like, no, we're rested and we're ready. We're going to equal the trend, go against the trend of what's taking place with some of these underdog points. And also, is this the one team that you worry about most? Because game number 7 for Denver was like, okay, veteran team still. We'll see how they play. Number 1 OKC. They played really well and ended up winning that game. But you see, like, Steph, how's he going to come out? Because that wasn't a clean series. Now, granted, they played the number 2 overall seed and played into a game 7, won game 7 on their home court, when we saw game number 5 sort of throw it away because we know we're going to win game number 6, not to win game number 6, and then play good defense and win game number 7. Does that hold up? Because I'm buying. Like, I'm biting on this one. Steph's going to be ready. Jimmy's going to be ready. Draymond's going to be ready. And again, you don't have to win the game. You can play into the final possessions here, as we saw a couple games last night. Even though the Dogs won, they still covered those spreads, even if they would have lost at those margins here. I have a feeling, though, buying into this Golden State Warriors team, is a little bit tougher than the previous ones that we just watched here. Not talking about Golden State themselves, but just round number 2 and game number 1s.
Yeah.
I want to buy the 7, though. I really do.
And again, you see 65% of the bets right now in terms of the spread on FanDuel backing Golden State, expecting the underdog to at least keep this game tightly contested tonight. There is still a world, although it's not the 9 points the Knicks won outright or the double digits Denver was catching entering game 1 last night in Oklahoma City. Still a world where the Warriors lose this game outright, but do cover that 6.5-point spread. It would not be the craziest thing to see this decided by a possession or 2. Unlike Denver, who had 2 full days off after Saturday night in Game 7 at altitude. Of course, they played only 1 day off because today's Tuesday. Never mind, just 1 day off to play on a Monday night. Same for Golden State, who played on Sunday evening in Houston. On the road in that 7th game, winning outright as an ever so slight dog. Held the Rockets to only 89 points. Some of that inexperience for the Rockets in the postseason catching up to them. Minnesota is not that, DRS. A team that reached the Western Conference Finals a season ago, was that series outright favorite against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks, with a lot of love for the Lakers, winning that opening round set. Minnesota came in as the series underdog, turned it quickly on its head, winning in 5, pulling off the gentleman's sweep. And when you talk about confidence, it's something that Anthony Edwards has for this series. You're buying into Golden State, maybe keeping this game 1 close tonight in Minneapolis. How do you feel about this second-round series overall?
I do think it's the Minnesota Timberwolves. And as we started at the top of the hour, take a look at where the public was going. And, of course, usually they go towards the favorites here, and rightfully so, because Minnesota is the better team, and they have home court advantage, and they're much more rested than the Golden State Warriors. So, granted, you should think they would have the leg up, but also it's a championship pedigree team. The Golden State Warriors are like, man, it's so great. Can't even believe we beat the 2 seed. Now we're playing with house money. They're not looking at his house money. They got rings on their finger, man. They got MVP awards here. They're ready to take it to the next step, and also still getting into the challenge of how good are the Minnesota Timberwolves. The last time I checked, World Championships not really there. Anthony Edwards is a superstar. We're always laughing at Rudy Gobert doing things, and you can muscle him and let Rudy Gobert has an absolutely monstrous game number 5 and has that prevail. But there's one angle also where we take a look at some of these sucker bets that you could make. What was the defining moment in game number 7 for the Golden State Warriors? It wasn't Steph Curry. It wasn't really Jimmy Butler. It's Buddy Hield, raining triples. So I look at his points prop today and I go, that's interesting. It's 9.5. Where does Buddy do most of his damage from? The 3-point line. But then again, I'm looking at his number here to make 3-point shots tonight. 2.5. Oh, minus 180. Yeah, that makes sense. No. Plus 144. Where's the setup on this one? Buddy Hield to make 3 triples at plus money? Where's the setup?
Where are we wrong? 12-15 from Buddy Hield from the floor overall in Game 7 to finish with a game-high 33 points. 9 of 11 from beyond the arc. We'll talk a little bit more about the props in a second. Something's a little bit off in the odds right now, and I think we're trying to find where we were incorrect earlier on or at this moment. Because, again, we talked about this with our producer extraordinaire, Joe Frizo, who thought that Minnesota would be favored. I disagreed because Golden State up 3-1 in their opening round series. When Minnesota was up 3-1, we thought the Warriors were going to clinch that in 5 in Houston or even in 6. Got a little precarious, but did win outright in a Game 7 on the road, even as a slight dog. Golden State had a $2 better price, 6-1 to win the Western Conference crown at that time. They were up 3-1 in front of Minnesota, who was also up 3-1 on the Lakers, 8-1 number. We knew that if that was going to be the series, regardless of the duration for either team, that Minnesota was going to have home floor advantage. Minnesota was the series underdog against the Lakers. They were the one pulling off the upset. You get ready for tonight. The T-Wolves are nearly a $2 series outright favorite. And, Donnie, look at those Western Conference odds. Golden State is 8-1. To win the Western Conference crown. A longer price even advancing a round than they did entering round number 1. So where are we wrong? Were we wrong earlier in the opening round sets and maybe Golden State not as good as we thought because it took them 7 games to beat the Rockets and Minnesota beat the Lakers in 5? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. I think we always were in love with the postseason pedigree of these Warriors. Steph, Draymond, and that playoff experience, maybe not in San Francisco, but that Jimmy Butler does possess. So what are we missing here in terms of the numbers?
I think it's just how wonky round number 1 was, where it's like, 2 seed, 7 seed. Yeah, 7 seed's much better. And then the 7 seed was supposed to pulverize them and win in 5 games, and it turned out to be 7 games. Are they as good? And boy, we didn't know Minnesota was this good. They handled the Los Angeles Lakers, who are just 2 men, and Austin Reeves give me some points, and nobody else on that team. And the perfect setup was the Timberwolves actually had a center, and the Lakers don't. Yeah. That's probably going to change a little bit with the physicality coming into the series. But you're right about it. The love for the Warriors in round number 1 doesn't seem to be there in round number 2.
And I didn't love the love for the Warriors entering the NBA postseason, even before the play-in tournament, understanding what they would have in their way. But if you had that optimism before we even started playoff action, and maybe it took you 7 games, but you advanced to round 2, I actually think there is some value on Golden State's number entering the start of the conference semifinals tonight. Some best bets around the NBA postseason up next. Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. He's Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. Live in studio, in person together. We'll do it again later this week as well. DRS, before we go here, we're going to give people some best bets from around the NBA postseason, Major League Baseball as well. So let's not bury the lead any further. It's time now for Bye Bye Bye. All right, full Major League Baseball slate on this Tuesday. Even an extra game, a doubleheader in D.C. 16 games in total, all 30 MLB teams in action. A doubleheader of NBA playoff games tonight as well. Game 2 in Cleveland. Game number 1 in Minnesota between the Timberwolves and the Warriors. Where do you look for your best bet, DRS, on this Tuesday?
Yeah, we got a couple. Do you want to just rip through? Do we do NBA first and Major League Baseball first? Why don't we go Major League Baseball first at this point right now? 2 games to take a look at. And again, some games that we might not have previewed, some that we have. Take a look at the Philadelphia Phillies and the Tampa Bay Rays today. Zach Wheeler versus Rasmussen. This game is in the heat and humidity in Tampa, but 2 pretty good pitchers on the mound. They get some lineups that can be held down. I don't think we get 9 runs in Tampa tonight. I'll go under 8.5 as play number 1 in Major League Baseball. And then we also talked about the other one here. The San Diego Padres on the road to take on the New York Yankees. I have the better pitcher on the mound and Michael King over Schmidt. Not a great lineup on either side. That game probably stays under, but how about a minus 112 price here on the road team, the Padres? I'll take that as well for a little bit more baseball action today.
I love that, DRS. I don't have a Major League Baseball best bet. I don't host pro baseball today, so I'll let you handle that. So I'll get us started in the NBA playoffs tonight as well. Something you said at the very end of our breakdown of this series between the Timberwolves and the Warriors. We saw Minnesota be dominant over L.A. because of the lack of center or interior presence for J.J. Redick and the Lakers. It was the main storyline in Game 4 and certainly in Game 5 when Rudy Gobert had a 27-point, 24-rebound performance to lead Minnesota to the gentleman's sweep over L.A. Where does Golden State lack as well in terms of their lineup and roster construction? Size down low. Draymond Green can play it, right? But they normally play a lot of small ball. I expect Rudy Gobert to have a really good series. The Warriors a much better defensive team than the Lakers ever are at this moment in Los Angeles. But if we're going to see Rudy Gobert play well, I also think the interior presence of Julius Randle is a big reason Minnesota is favored tonight, laying 6.5 points in game number 1. Favored to win this series outright as well. Randle, who was great for Minnesota in those 5 games against the team that drafted him in the Lakers, 22 or more in the final 4 games of that series, including a 23-point performance in game number 5 to clinch that set. Give me Julius Randle over 20.5 points tonight, DRS, for the Timberwolves in game number 1 against Golden State.
Makes some sense. It certainly does. For me, I'll take a look also at the Indiana Pacers here, getting the 9 points. I think they stay within that margin, and also an under of 229.5, which means that I think that game is going to slow down just a bit because you have the urgency coming from the Cavs side here. Also, game number 2, Buddy Hield and the Golden State Warriors match them up here. Over 2.5 3-point shots at a plus number, and also the Warriors at plus 6.5. If you parlay that together, it's a plus 269 price. I always like to say this, Ben. When an athlete that plays at a high level, has a great shooting night in the NBA, he doesn't go, now's my chance to let Podziemski get off now. No, he wants to shoot again. So if I'm anticipating 6 3-point shots taken from Buddy Hield, I got to be able to knock down 3 of those because they're probably going to be wide open.
It is interesting because Buddy Hield performed so well in Game 7. Was he doing that the entirety of the opening round set against Houston? No. But when you come off 9 made threes,
correct,
to get a third of those does not seem overly crazy for this Golden State side. I wonder what the Warriors starting five is going to look like tonight. I wonder what a couple of those rotational matchups are going to be because of the size and physicality of Minnesota. Donnie, we'll talk about it more tomorrow as well, or you'll talk about it more tomorrow as well. Entering game number 2 in Oklahoma City, Thunder and the Nuggets after Denver wins outright as a double-digit dog. Same story, of course, inside TD Garden for the Celtics and the Warriors. Both teams, Boston and Oklahoma City, stronger favorites for game number 2 than they were in game 1, it is necessary to get those opening 2-game splits. Same kind of story for Cleveland. They were an 8.5-point favorite for game 1, laying 9 right now. You would think that if the Cavaliers are going to win this game comfortably to even up the series, it starts in the opening half. Cleveland a 5.5-point favorite for those opening 2 quarters.
Well, that's absolutely the way to go, no doubt about it, because you got to set the tone on your home court here. It's one of those let the Pacers run out to an 8-point lead. That doesn't make any sense. And by the way, tomorrow's games, 10 and 11, if I ask you right now, what's the propensity for a blowout situation for me? It's probably the Knicks getting blown out more than the Denver Nuggets.
And I still think there would be a lot of enthusiasm, even if New York does not look great tomorrow night inside TD Garden, to head to the other garden. That would be Madison Square. He is Donnie Right Side. I am Ben Stevens. We hope you enjoyed this Tuesday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Show returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern.